One of the most powerful Android tablets you can buy, and at a proper companion device price. Hey, this episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you. All the amazing folks who share content on social media and the incredible generosity of my patrons on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. More info on those awesome nerds later in the video. All right, we're gonna keep this one a little lean. I did a setup video on the OnePlus Pad 2 and waited to finish my thoughts on a review until I could get my hands on the keyboard and the stylus. OnePlus sent over the entire kit for me to take on a test drive and share my thoughts to make this video. I'm having a hard time coming up with a nice buttoned up conclusion for this review. Here in the United States, this is the most powerful Android tablet you can currently buy until Samsung updates the Galaxy Tab S. The price for the whole kit together closes in on laptop tier pricing, and I know I'm gonna get comments from people about how at that price a laptop would just be better. But if we're shopping a convertible tablet setup, there's a lot less competition for this concept. A fanless system with a wireless detachable keyboard that when using comparable apps can hang with and often beat Chromebooks using Intel Core i3s. I'm not speculating about that. I ran a bunch of tests over on the Patreon. And not just a lazy Geekbench score, we're talking video rendering, podcast mixing, file compression, photo processing. The chip in this tablet wins most of those comparisons running fanless and getting better battery life. A tablet is often held up as some kind of extra screen, a solution in search of a problem, and people will pigeonhole it as the way that we let our kids watch the Netflix. But folks who actually track performance were increasingly closing in on laptop grade power here. But of course, someone will pedantically trot out an older gaming laptop that they can buy on Newegg for the same price that plays games better and completely miss the point of what it's like using a thin, fanless slate. The tablet is sold all by itself, so you don't need to make it a little mini netbook, but that's the Transformers Alt mode that OnePlus is promoting. And just as a tablet, you have to find those other solutions to hold it, to prop it up, to put it in a case, to protect the screen. Adding the whole case kit makes the laptop-y use immediately accessible. And I really like the keyboard blade. I'm just happy to see more options adopt that Bluetooth pogo pin split that I first used on the Robo and Kala. It makes the blade a little bit more expensive, but it means you can move the screen to a more comfortable location, keeping the keyboard where you need it to use it. Tablets have always struggled when being used in your lap, and a detachable keyboard blade can help with that. You can put the screen up on a table, put this in your lap, gives you a few more options for the flexibility for mixed mode use. Back to the Pad 2, the screen is really pretty. Now, I'm not bothered by an LCD if it's a really nice LCD. This is one of those screens that folks will only notice any kind of difference if you put this next to the most expensive OLEDs and then point out to them the subtle differences in things like contrast. No one is gonna look at this and think, ugh, what a cheap screen. Now the face unlock here is nice and snappy. I personally would have preferred fingerprint unlock. That's just what I like. And it's kind of weird, the slight differences between Android and Windows Hello, and how that can swing me one way or the other, or how it makes a laptop feel more appropriate to use with Face Unlock. I did not like having to dig through the menus and settings to bypass the lock screen. I'm really happy you can, I just wish that was easier to toggle. So when I want to turn it on, I want to be using it immediately, just like on Windows. And for this whole kit, the two usability gripes I have for this whole setup, I like that this rear case can kind of emulate the kickstand that you see on the Surface Pro or on the Robo and Kala, but I wish the magnets were a little stronger. When you lift the tablet, the kickstand can pop off pretty easy. I'm having to be really careful how I'm holding it here for this video. And the other minor gripe, the touchpad. The trackpad here is nice and large, but the accuracy, it can be a little temperamental. And I've had a few tracking issues if I'm sliding across, if I'm sliding lightly. Now this isn't bad. I've definitely used worse trackpads, but just those occasional little skips, they did stand out. They were a bit distracting. But over a couple weeks of use, I've really been racking my brain for the few things that have been kind of annoying as I've been using it. This is overkill powerful for basic tablet-y stuff. Again, I have a full benchmark rundown on the Patreon if you want to dig into the bar graphs just a bit more. But once we start using it for more laptop grade work, you will hit some of those software issues. Like if you needed more advanced editing in Office, in documents, Microsoft 365 mobile apps are well featured. Like it's plenty capable for me to write my scripts. I wrote the script for this video on the tablet, and I can do things like update my benchmark spreadsheet. But then you hit PowerPoint and it's basically on training wheels. I'd only use the mobile PowerPoint to present. I would not use it to try and create a presentation. The Pad 2 just screams through things like editing video, and it is a nice perk over the first OnePlus Pad that we can hook this up to an external monitor for video playback in LumaFusion. The stylus is well featured with hardware taps for things like switching up between a pen and an eraser. I tried to get a little more ambitious with my doodle for this review. I'm not much of an artist, but I liked how this played with AutoCAD Sketchbook, which is currently my favorite app to do these little doodles in. How it plays with your favorite sketch apps, I can't cover every sketch app, but the hardware is solid. We don't have extra little buttons, so we can't do like remote camera shutter actions, but the pen tools are great, and you can quickly launch notes or sketches even from the screen off. Getting into a little gaming, it's a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. This thing is a beast. I can fire up some indie darlings like Dead Cells without breaking a sweat. Alien Isolation at 60 frames per second, and plenty of room for emulators. You prop it up, you pair or you plug in a controller, and there's a ton of local processing to deliver a top-tier gaming experience. And when I want something a bit beefier, just like my Steam Deck, I can pair this up with Steam Link, and I can have my dedicated workstation-grade computer drive the game and then just stream it to the screen here. OnePlus does still seem to manage this a bit more than other players like Vivo or Xiaomi. Some games I know that can be played at a higher frame rate are still locked to 60 FPS here, but at its worst, it's still matching the experience I can get on my Steam Deck for a lot of comparable titles, but with a much nicer screen and absolutely no fan noise. Now, the OnePlus software is kind of interesting. As a quick reminder, I think OnePlus has some of the best natural gestures for multitasking and floating windows. This slate is currently the only usable Android 14 desktop mode aside from a Pixel 8. And Oxygen has matured into a fluid and sleek skin on top of Android. It's been good for a while. Into some of the new stuff, I do kinda like the pairing and device support. I actively try to avoid getting into any one company's ecosystem, but OnePlus kinda snuck up on me here. I just really liked the phone, tablet, and earbud combination. You know, tapping the phone to the tablet, sharing a data connection, moving files around. This is not revolutionary. Every company is looking to get folks pairing their devices together, but OnePlus's solution is practical. It's a good combo, and if you like their phones, it would make sense to add this to your collection. Getting to the end, I'm coming to the end of this review here, and this video still not complete. At the time I shot this, we just got this AI studio, which doesn't do much for me. It's kind of a way to spend daily tokens on making pictures of pretty people that never existed. I hope to revisit this when we get the rest of the AI toolbox and we get the speech-to-text transcription. That summation tool looks really interesting. It's just weird that a few features like subject cutout don't seem to work here. I can take my OnePlus 12, long press on a photo, and it'll cut out the subject of that photo. But if I transfer that photo from my phone to this tablet so that I can work on it on a larger screen, the tablet photo app doesn't support that cutout. You know, it's small omissions like that that I hope to see polished up when more AI apps arrive. Plus, I just feel there's a conversation to be had comparing the current state of Android running on a tablet against a full flavor of Windows, but I'll need to save that for a future video. I really like this tablet. We're in great shape against the Galaxy Tab S9, and we have a more powerful chip than in the S9, and it dukes it out pretty well against the iPad Air, where we get to add some solid features like super fast battery charging. It's a OnePlus. You get great battery life, but even when you're starting to run low, it's gonna charge faster than any of the competitors in this space. I mean, it's kind of tough, right? If your needs are reading ebooks and streaming a movie, we can do that really cheap. And maybe it's okay that the experience on that tablet isn't very nice because it was really cheap. But that means you take that cheap slate, you'll never really try to do more with it. We know it won't be great, and then we're stuck in this tablets are just basic second screens kind of mentality. If we step it up a little and we move to a more premium price, it encourages someone to try to do a bit more with it. Like the Galaxy Tab S line, OnePlus deserves a lot of credit here. This is overkill performance for a huge chunk of the population, and this might be all the computers someone really needs, especially for folks who might have been covered by a Chromebook. OnePlus Pad 2. It's really nice, and I like it a lot, and I'm not quite done with it yet. And as I get into a lot of this kind of performance and comparison testing, the folks who get to see the results of my work first are my incredible patrons. Now, I greatly appreciate everybody who supports their favorite YouTube channels getting out there. If you share content on social media, that really helps us with all of the terrible algorithms on these platforms. But if you have the means, I hope you'll consider joining the community at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. These are the people that are literally helping to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. Just an amazing group of geeks. I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me across all the rest of the social medias. These days, I'm spending a lot more of my time on the Mastodons, a lot less so on the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and definitely not on the Twitters, and I will catch you all on the next review.